So if you do plan on addressing the commission, please fill out a yellow card and make sure it gets to this basket up here, and they'll call your name when it's time.
It is 5:31, and I would like to call the meeting of the Parks, Recreation, and Arts Commission to order. City Clerk, would you please conduct roll call?
Certainly. Councilmember Barraza.
President.
Councilmember Collier. Councilmember Dolan. Commissioner Dolan.
Here. But I'll go with council member. That's okay.
Commissioner Duran.
Here.
Commissioner Kucharski. Oh, fantastic. Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Commissioner Trio.
Here.
Vice Chair Ward.
Here.
And Chair McCoy.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. We will now begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Will everyone please stand? Ready, salute. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will start with the approval of the agenda. City Clerk, are there any changes or proposed changes to the agenda tonight?
I have received no changes to the agenda.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Dolan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Miller. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. This item is approved. We will now move on to approval of minutes. Are there any changes or proposed changes to the minutes from September 15th, 2025, City Clerk?
I have not received any changes to the minutes.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So move.
Thank you, Commissioner Barraza. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Dolan. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. This item is approved. We will now move on to subcommittee reports. This item is a discussion item for the commission, and no public comments will be taken related to this item. Does the Cultural Arts Grants Subcommittee have an update it would like to provide to the commission?
Yes, thank you, Chair McCoy. It has been a difficult few weeks for the Cultural Arts Subcommittee, the Fresno Arts Council, and the Fresno Arts and Culture community. Both those community members who hoped we would be taking action tonight on proposed funding recommendations for the 2025 EEAC art grants, and those who asked for a pause in that process and expressed frustration about whether the issues and concerns they have raised are being addressed. To start, I want to address communication. This commission is made up of volunteers who believe strongly in civic engagement and implementing Measure P to serve all parts of the city of Fresno. We truly appreciate each individual who has spoken up at a commission meeting or shared their experiences and perspectives directly with any PRAC commissioner on the EEAC grant process. This communication is so valuable. The perception exists that public comments and feedback go nowhere or are not being taken seriously. I want to emphasize that is not true. When public comment is made to the commission, commissioners are very limited in how we can respond because engaging in unscheduled communication or debate is a violation of the Brown Act. It doesn't mean we do not hear you or are not working to evaluate issues and address concerns that are raised in public comment. When an attorney letter is sent to the commission, it restricts communication further. Attorney ethics rules require the lawyers communicate directly with each other. City Attorney Andrew Jans is joining us by Zoom tonight, and he has confirmed that he is in communication with the attorney who sent that letter to PRAC. In the absence of communication, the Cultural Arts Subcommittee has seen a lot of speculation and misinformation about its activities and the EEAC grant program. That brings me to transparency. I hope you've had a chance to read the September 16th, 2025 subcommittee meeting minutes included with today's agenda. The role, authority, and actions of the subcommittee are addressed there. Its actions are bound by the language of the ordinance and commission resolutions, advice of the city council and the city attorney, and the city council adopted service agreement, EEAC policies and guidelines. To be clear, the subcommittee has no authority beyond making recommendations to the full commission for their discussion and action. Those minutes also show that we have been working with the city attorney's office to find a way to bring the public into the activities of the Cultural Arts Subcommittee. We want to thank City Attorneys Andrew Jans and Angela Karst and PRAC Chair Kim McCoy for their collaboration in addressing this issue. City Attorney Andrew Jans has agreed that the PRAC Cultural Arts Subcommittee can voluntarily hold publicly noticed and open meetings, even if there is not a legal requirement to do so as currently organized, and that is how we will be holding the subcommittee meetings in the future. Sunshine drives out the darkness, and this is a step we can take right now to help restore public trust to this aspect of the process. He also confirmed that PRAC can take future action to make the Cultural Arts Subcommittee a standing committee subject to the Brown Act instead of an ad hoc committee through future action. Finally, I will address next steps. At this time, there's a lot of public confusion and misinformation about the 2025 EEAC grant applications that were scored by community volunteer review panels and then reviewed by the Cultural Arts Subcommittee to make proposed grant award recommendations. We recognize that there's a full spectrum of opinions about the scores from the review panels. However, they are the result of the process that was carried out in good faith by the Fresno Arts Council in accordance with the City of Fresno Service Agreement and the current City Council adopted policies and guidelines. These first 2 years, the Cultural Arts Subcommittee received those scores from the review panels and then engaged in the scoring committee functions of reviewing the scores, the appeals, and preparing recommendations for grant awards to PRAC. To increase transparency around that process, we will be holding a publicly noticed and open Cultural Arts Subcommittee meeting in the coming weeks so that members of the public can join us and review the same materials that the Cultural Arts Subcommittee considered on September 3rd and 16th, provide space for public comment, and all community members can observe for themselves how these items were discussed and addressed. After that public subcommittee meeting, the recommendations will be brought to the full commission for discussion and action, which will provide another opportunity for public comment and engagement. Our goal is to bring recommendations for action at a PRAC meeting in October. We recognize that the state and federal environment for art and culture funding has been devastated in the past year, which has adversely impacted the financial position of many of Fresno's art and culture organizations, and sharply increased the significance of releasing EEAC grant funding locally for these applicants who participated in this round for the competitive grants. Without diminishing the concerns that have been raised, to maintain public trust in the integrity of this competitive grant program for the current applicants, we must resume the 2025 EEAC grant program process and adhere to the guidelines and policies as adopted by the City Council that are currently in effect. Going forward, the Cultural Arts Subcommittee will also become directly involved in the panel review process for the EEAC grants. This will ensure that grant review panel meetings are publicly noticed and open to the public. This is only year 2, and making the EEAC grant program better each year is a continuous process. We hope that the community remains engaged and keeps sharing opinions and perspectives with this commission as we find a path forward. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on to member reports and comments. As a reminder, this is a time for commission members to report anything they feel important for the public or commission to know, but it's not a time for discussion. Commissioner Barraza, do you have any reports or comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to invite members of the public and commissioners to an event being held in Southeast Fresno called Dia de la Raza on October 12th, and that translates to Indigenous Peoples Day. We'll have a lot of art, music, and a diverse cultural setting, and I hope all of you that have time to go to the park and enjoy a wonderful evening, that you're able to join us. October 12th. Thank you.
Where's the location again?
At the Willow Bulge Park. It's on Willow and Bulge.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The time again, please. The time again for the event?
The time, I believe it's about 1 o'clock. Subject to confirmation.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Duran, do you have any reports or comments?
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Miller.
Nothing for me, thanks.
I want to thank everyone. I see some people here that came out Saturday to help do retouches on the 93706 mural in West Fresno down the street from Edison High School. We had such a great turnout. We had kids out there who were putting their handprints out. Community really came together to make sure that they touched up that mural. And we had a DJ who kept the party going, and we just had people trickling in and out. from all parts of Fresno. So I just want to say thank you, and it was a really good day Saturday to see community come together to get that done. So thank you. Commissioner Vice Chair Ward.
Yeah, I just wanted to note that this is a busy time in the community for a lot of Measure P funded and supported arts and cultural events. Over the past 2 weeks in Central Fresno, I was able to see the Art Museum for Museum Day, check out the Real Pride Festival's film festival, and also stop by the Guelaguetza. And I know there's a lot of additional upcoming events that are going to be happening over the next few weeks, so I want to encourage people to participate in those.
Commissioner Collier.
I just want to speak to an event that they had at the Arts Council a few days ago where some of the winners of funding were there. There was a variety of organizations with a diversity of skills and talents, from orchestras to stained glass windows to ceramics to you name it. And I put a few of them on the back table if you want to take them with you, but it bodes well for our community. Thank you. If there's any artists in here, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm done.
Thank you. Commissioner Kurchowski.
Yeah, thank you. I have a question. Is the Parkway, the San Joaquin Parkway Subcommittee, has that been dissolved?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Just was double checking. Maybe I wasn't here for that meeting or something. So that was all. No updates, no comments.
updates.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Dolan.
Yeah, I guess I want to, I think I said this last meeting, but I want to repeat it, which is I want to commend the Cultural Arts Subcommittee, the chair of this commission, and I guess extend it to the Fresno Arts Council and to everybody in the arts community here in Fresno for their passionate engagement with the work that has been going on, whether you're happy with the outcomes or consider them in need of improvement. I think everybody has been putting a tremendous amount of effort and passion into this, and I think it shows in the end result being a better product. So, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Trillo.
No comments at this time.
Thank you. As Vice Chair Ward stated, the recommendations for the 2025-2026 Cultural Art Grant Funds will not be approved at tonight's meeting. The Commission is not prepared to approve this item at this time. The item will be heard at a later date. We will now move on to the City Administration and Park staff reports and comments.
Thank you, Chair McCoy. Good evening, T.J. Miller, Assistant City Manager. I'd like to welcome Assistant Director Shelby McNabb in Aaron's place on the dais this evening. Aaron's in Monterey accepting an award on all of our behalf. I'm proud to announce that the Fresno Parks Master Plan and Measure P Transforming Parks and Communities received the 2025 Award of Excellence in the implementation category from the California chapter of the American Planning Association. This prestigious state-level recognition celebrates the City of Fresno's commitment to equitable park development, community engagement, and long-term investment in public spaces. The award highlights the successful implementation of a visionary plan that is already transforming neighborhoods and enhancing the quality of life throughout Fresno. Congratulations to all of you, as well as our Parks Department, led by Aaron Aguirre. Thank you. A little bit of good news.
Thank you. Does anyone from the Park staff have any reports or comments for the Commission?
Yes, just a quick update. We have quite a few seasonal activities in the coming months, including our fall movies in the park, pumpkin painting, and more to bring families together and enjoy the beautiful park facilities. I encourage everyone to follow Parks on Instagram and Facebook at PARCS Fresno, or call 621-PLAY to find an activity near you. Lots of wonderful things happening.
Thank you. We will now move on to unscheduled communication. Would any member of the public like to speak on any issue within the jurisdiction of this commission? You will have up to 2 minutes. As a reminder, if you would like to make a comment regarding any of the scheduled hearings, That will be heard when that hearing is discussed. I'm assuming all the cards I have is for the hearing, correct? Okay. So, no one online? Okay.
And we do have one person online with their hand raised. Mr. Derthick, would you please address the commission? You have 3 minutes.
Two.
Oh, sorry, 2 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Tom Derthick. I serve as president of the Professional Musicians of California, American Federation of Musicians Local 12. I'm speaking on behalf of the professional musicians of the Fresno Philharmonic, who are members of Local 12, and I thank you for the opportunity. Musicians do what they do for the love of music, to share music with our community. The difference between professional and amateur musicians is that professionals depend on income earned from performing to make a living. Our professional musicians depend on the income they earn at Fresno Philharmonic concerts underwritten by Measure P grant funding, our level of symphonic work. So simultaneous employment in other fields by our professional musicians is usually impossible. The Fresno Philharmonic and our professional musicians perform symphonic concerts seen by thousands of residents each year, including 10,000 school children. In America, ticket revenues only cover a quarter of the cost of producing a symphonic concert, with the remainder raised from donations and grants from hundreds of individuals and from government sources such as Measure P. The largest single cost item for the Philharmonic is the salary and benefits for its local 12 professional musicians. These salaries pay our members' bills, property taxes, utilities, food, rent, with the monies immediately recirculated in our community. This is how we make our living, bringing music to the Fresno. This is how Measure P money works for you. This past weekend, the Philharmonic and our professional musicians performed 2 fantastic concerts. The monies the commission has approved for the Philharmonic current season are vital for the Philharmonic Commission to bring future concerts for this current season between now and next June. Local 12 and your professional musicians are grateful to the Commission for your review of the Philharmonic's application and for your grant investment in the Fresno Philharmonic. We heartily agree with you that the work the Philharmonic does is worthy of the significant grant proposed. We ask that the Commission trust the findings of your application process and proceed immediately with the current grant cycle grant as proposed. We thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I will now close unscheduled communication and move on to hearings. Okay.
I was walking up when you said close.
I didn't see you. I was reading.
Sorry. I just wanted to make a comment about Broadway Parque, a recent park that opened in the South Tower District.
Can I stop you? I know your name, but can I get
Yes,
you to say your name?
Kyle Lippes-Schmidt, the Executive Director of the South Tower Community Land Trust. And my comment is about Broadway Parque, specifically with new parks. I had a question on how to best engage with the Parks Department on maintenance issues. The park is now being regularly utilized, but it doesn't seem like the tables are being cleaned off or there's any sort of pressure washing in the kids area. So just like there's starting to be grime build up after these first few months, and wanted to make sure we get onto like a consistent schedule of maintenance. So the best way to engage in the Parks Department for that, I would appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else for unscheduled communication before I close it? All right, thank you. We will now move on to hearings. ID number 25-1279. Hearing to receive public input on expanded access to arts and cultural grant program. Would any member of the public like to make a comment regarding this item? You will have up to 2 minutes for comment. The first person I'm going to call is Elizabeth Lavelle.
Good evening, Commissioners. 2025 has been a tragic year for arts and culture across this country. With the elimination at the federal and state level of so many grants, the IMLS, the NEA, the NEH, and so many other organizations that help build diversity and build our communities. But here in Fresno, we have people that voted on the importance of cultural arts in our community through a process called the EAAC, which is only in its second year of implementation for measure for the arts and culture. Nonprofits here keep hope. We bring hope. All of us that work in established organizations and in upcoming emerging organizations all believe that this is the time for this community to move forward with the grants as the subcommittee has recommended. The hope in our minds is that the different kinds of transparency issues that you brought before all of us last year were heard and progress was made. And there's no reason to believe that that can't happen in the next cycle as well. So on behalf of all organizations in the arts and culture world, including our friends in public media who this week begin a time without support from federal or state resources, we highly encourage you to move forward with this process and take up issues that must be addressed and deserve to be addressed in the next cycle. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker will be Jackson Keitel. Am I saying that right? I apologize if I'm not. You will have 2 minutes.
Hi, thanks for letting me speak to you. It's Jackson Keitel. I'm one of 25 volunteer directors for Valley Town Hall, San Joaquin Valley Town Hall. I'm relatively new to Fresno, having been here about 5 years, and I have to say, let's not get too overwrought by some of the implementation challenges of a very far-reaching policy. I have never seen anything like the Cultural Arts Plan. I think the community can be justly proud of what it has contributed in that regard. The grant process itself, about which I know a great deal because I was the basic architect for the grant that we received last year, as well as the small grant that we submitted this year. I'm no stranger to the grant process, not because I'm a rainmaker or a grant professional, but I've been in higher education for 30, 40 years before I retired, and there isn't a dean alive that doesn't try to make some money by raising some money to supplement programs, so I know about grants. And this one has been complicated. My urge is to use the cliche, let's not throw out the baby with the bathwater. There are some challenges that need to be taken on, and I'm very confident the staff and the commission will be able to handle it. Thank you very much for letting me address you. Good night.
Thank you. Next speaker, David Boyd. Thank you. You have 2 minutes.
Good evening. Thank you, Commissioners. Thanks for this opportunity to present to the PRAC on Measure P funded expanded access to arts in the Culture Grant Program. My name is David Boyd. I'm on the Board of Directors of Fresno Community and Chorus, Incorporated, a local 501c3 comprised of 5 main ensembles bringing voice to the Valley. In organizing and coordinating the grant award process for this second year, I believe the Fresno Arts Council, under the leadership of Executive Director Lilia Gonzalez Chavez, led a fair and transparent process from application submittal to grant selection. This process is required by Fresno Municipal Code. In short, applications were reviewed through a transparent, competitive process. Membership on the Grant Review Committee is also diverse and geographically inclusive, as were applicants awarded funding these first and second years. It's unfortunate when interest in grant funds exceeds available resources, but the Fresno Arts Council team was extremely supportive throughout, updating their application forms to support thorough completion and responsive to all clarifying questions. I encourage the Commission to follow Co-Commissioner's award plan to release awarded funds as soon as possible to ensure our important work continues advancing access to arts in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Marion Carrion. I'm going to defer. You're going to defer? Okay, thank you. Next speaker, Joe Cantinia. If I am butchering your name, I'm sorry. I should have worn my glasses.
No, you did well. It's Catania.
Thank you.
Joe Catania. I'm with the Tower District Preservation Fund and the Tower Jazz Series. And I just wanted to say that during this grant, this second grant process, the Fresno Arts Council was very supportive. We followed the directions of the application as best we could, if we ever had questions or concerns. We got excellent response from the Arts Council. We feel that it was a fair and reasonable process. And I want to thank everyone for their efforts to make this happen, and I hope that the funds can be released soon. We're already like in the 4th month of this cycle. And I know it's difficult for everybody, but we had a program where we were going to present jazz performances monthly. We're going to be 4 months behind now, which I understand is a necessary thing at this point. My time is up. I hope you can do this.
You have 1 minute.
Quickly, and I thank you all.
You have one. You still have time. You have a minute.
I
Well,
have
50
time.
seconds.
Well, you know, I'm kind of getting a little discombobulated here, but you know, I think we have a good program. We got 82% of the funds that we got the last grant cycle went to musicians, and the remainder went to promotion. We have no staff. We have no administrative costs. We're a small nonprofit doing something in the community that the community has been very supportive of. All of the ensembles requested to come back. We had youth ensembles performing. So I understand there's some problems. I hope you can address these problems, but I hope you can let us move forward with this cycle and correct them for the next. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, Stephen Wilson.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Stephen Wilson, President and CEO of the Fresno Philharmonic. This past weekend, the Fresno Philharmonic opened its 71st season of live orchestra concerts with a celebration of Michoacan culture and the rich tradition of classical music in Mexico. The concerts included a lobby artwork exhibit by local Purepecha visual artist and culture bearer Huichu Cuacari that was presented in collaboration with our colleagues at Arte Americas. In other words, we were doing the actual work of expanding access to arts and culture in Fresno as the voters who approved Measure P intended. I'm speaking here tonight on behalf of my organization and the overwhelming majority of the 68.7% of applicants who were recommended for grant awards this year. We are extraordinarily grateful for the Measure P funding we received last year, and now that our season is underway, we are in desperate need of the 2025 Measure P grant funds. Any delay in this process causes real harm to us and the many other organizations who have started or are ramping up their seasons. Arts organizations cannot simply hit pause on our seasons, which were planned months in advance. Expenses have been incurred and will continue to be incurred bringing art to the city of Fresno by applicants who participated in the EAAC grant process in good faith. We implore the city and the PRAC not to undo the months of hard work by grant applicants, panelists, the Fresno Arts Council, and the Arts and Culture Subcommittee, which have produced the 2025 grant funding recommendations. We want to thank the members of the Arts and Culture Subcommittee for their tireless efforts to keep the grant process moving in a positive direction for the applicants and for the citizens of Fresno. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Yuri Olivares.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Yeri Olivares. I am with the Fresno Area Hispanic Foundation, a nonprofit organization here in Fresno. We thank you for your review of this grant process to make sure that it proceeds. In fact, the guidelines themselves did state that the Commission shall ensure that the grant applications are reviewed in a transparent and competitive process, and that is something we all value, and we have been very pleased working with the Arts Council through this process. At the same time, we wanted to stress the importance of honoring the timeline and the commitments that have already been established. The organizations have planned programs and committed to other events based on this schedule, so Any delay in dispersing the funds directly impacts our ability to deliver on these promises to the community. So we thank the Commission for acting promptly, maintaining accountability, and ensuring that the funds are awarded as intended so that our Fresno residents and our community can experience the arts and culture that they were promised under Measure P. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Next speaker, Michael Pracy. I'm sorry, I can't.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Michelle Ellis Pracy, Executive Director and Chief Curator of the Fresno Art Museum. The museum wants to go on the record that it is grateful for the Measure P funding opportunity, its competitive grant process, the FAC's knowledgeable stewardship of taxpayer money, and the current intended grant allocations afforded to our cultural arts efforts in Fresno. Some of us here tonight have been part of the Measure P grassroots concept as early as 2018. We were thrilled when it made it on the ballot. It has been a wild ride, but most of all, it has been rewarding because Measure P was voted in as a 30-year funding support avenue for Fresno cultural arts, and we have been consequently supported for 1 year to date. We are only in the second year of grant rounds. There will be people who have issues with the process and believe it can be improved. That's fine, and that's true. This should always be the case moving any initiative forward. But it does not need to threaten the grants that have been intended to be awarded this year for all of the applicants, for all of the visitors, for all of the arts in Fresno. This money is critical funding, and we needed it yesterday. If this funding is not approved, irreparable harm will be done to the stability of my institution and numerous others in this community. Without EAAC funds, Fresno is at risk of institutions closing, and I'm here tonight to address the upheaval and potential tragedy if these funds are not approved. As the steward of a Fresno legacy nonprofit, my board and I ask that you approve the intended 2025-26 EAAC grant applications. The recommended applications for FAM is critical to meeting my budget. Is that my 2 minutes?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Catherine Marquez.
Hello there. My name's Catherine Marchese, and I'm the Executive Director of the Youth Orchestras of Fresno, celebrating now its 76th season. First of all, I would like to thank the Fresno citizens for recognizing the importance of cultural arts in our community and for supporting them through Measure P. And I would like to thank the Fresno Arts Council and all of you here for all the hard work in making the funding a reality. It was a transformational year for our organization and organizations like ours, and we are counting on you to release the funds earmarked for this year's grant awards as soon as possible. Speaking of counting, let me share a few numbers that show what Measure P has meant for us and the Fresno community. Because of funding, 185 students ages 6 to 18 from 53 schools participated in our 3 orchestras. Over $30,000 in tuition assistance was awarded, 18 teachers and coaches employed, and we collaborated with no less than 29 community partners, brought in 8 major guest artists, and had over 6,000 community members attend our free events. Our season's already underway. Venues booked, music rented, teachers hired, tuition assistance awarded. Delaying or pulling funds now would have a devastating impact on our organization as well as other organizations and the community we serve. We applied in good faith, followed every deadline and rule. We do understand the process can always be improved moving forward, but today we ask you, we implore you to honor the commitment already made so Fresno's young people and community can continue to benefit from this vital support. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Parvin Malik.
Good evening. My name is Parvin Malek, and I am a director of Iranian Culture and Art Club in Fresno. We ask you to approve the Major P Cultural Art Grant Fund that was already recommended by the subcommittee. Many nonprofit organizations in Fresno depend on this funding to keep serving our community. Approving this grant means supporting programs that educate, empower, and bring people together. Please move it forward so these visual services can be continued. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next speaker, Elena Ibarra.
Good evening. My name is Elena Ibarra Murphy, and I am the director of Los Niños Aztlan Dance Studio, a nonprofit dance studio that specializes in Mexican folk dance and culture. Our studio is also a part of the Danzantes del Valle Coalition, an emerging arts organization recommended for funding. I am here to speak on our experience with the Fresno Arts Council during the 2024-2025 grant cycle, and to urge you to move forward in approving the Arts Council recommendations. This was the first time our organization had applied for grant funding, and we were awarded funding for operational support. We were one of the 2 dance organizations that received funding, and also one of only a few projects funded in the 93727 zip code. As grantees during the 2024-25 cycle, the Arts Council was responsive and supportive throughout. As is true for many organizations, we had a lot of questions about the process, reporting expectations, and how the grant process worked. They answered all of our questions in a timely manner and walked our treasurer through the grant and reporting process. The Arts Council also provided training free of charge to our board members, helping our board to understand their role and responsibilities and enabling our organization to create an organizational plan. This year, we were unfortunately ineligible for funding due to a filing error with the Office of the Attorney General. We would have not have learned of this filing error if it had not been for the Fresno Arts Council. During the updated application process, they informed us of the error and why we were not eligible for funding through EAAC this cycle. We look forward to applying in the 3rd cycle. Had the Arts Council not informed us of the filing error, we would have also missed out on future funding from other sources. They helped us navigate this process to rectify the error, again responding to questions and phone calls. I strongly urge the PRAC to move forward in approving the recommendations by the Fresno Arts Council. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, Veronica Chavez.
Buenas tardes, good evening, members of the PRAC. My name is Veronica Chavez, and I am a culture bearer and dance educator. I stand before you today as a member of the folklorico community, as part of the 24-25 EAAC grantee cohort, and as a member of the Danzantes del Valle Coalition, a recommended 25-26 EEAC Emerging Arts grantee. I stand before you as I did last year to urge you to move forward with the funding process. Last year, the dance nonprofit where I get to teach was the only folklorico organization to receive funding and one of only 2 dance-based nonprofits or projects to be funded. In a city that hosts one of the largest folklorico festivals outside of Mexico, we know that our folklorico and larger dance community was underrepresented, not only in terms of funded projects, but more importantly in applicants. This year, I was excited to see that there are not only more folklorico projects being funded, but also flamenco, not to mention the amazing work that Break the Barriers does with differently abled dancers. Folks saw the impact of the first year of funding and were excited to apply this year. However, for the 2nd year in a row, I stand before you frustrated because instead of efficiently moving through the agreed upon funding process, the process is being dragged on. The funding timeline is pushed back. As a dancer, I have spent the larger part of my life pursuing the illusion of perfection. With this lived experience, I stand before you to remind you that perfection is, in fact, an illusion we all continue to strive for. At this time, we are only in the 2nd year of the EAAC implementation. Having gone through the application process the past 2 years, I have seen the way the application process was simplified in response to feedback from the first evolution of the process. I hear the critiques and the feedback that has been shared, and based on my organization's past experience with the Arts Council and my own experience going through the application process, I am confident that the Arts Council, if given the opportunity, will be receptive to feedback and do the work to continue to improve on this process. I urge the PRAC to move forward in approving the recommendations by the Fresno Arts Council. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker is Christina. Last name is O-L-A, and I can't figure out the last three letters.
Hello, my name is Christina Olage. This is my first year applying. I grew up in Fresno. I've been an artist and an organizer since I was 17, and now I'm almost 30, so I've grown up in the arts and culture landscape. Last year I was unable to apply as an individual artist, so this year I was able to find a fiscal sponsor, and I hope to apply next year even. I'm very hopeful. I just wanted to offer my feedback. I've heard that there was interest from the PRAC and the FAC in just general feedback. So I just wanted to offer that today. It's a very strange setting to be in, even as a practiced slam poet. I wanted to share my experience. I found myself a little bit torn in between categories applying this year. I applied under the established organization project support category, and the questions I found to be a little bit misleading. I'm not an organization, I'm just a person. So I kind of got from the written comments from the panel that was a little bit confusing. I would love to see more opportunity for public input so that we can kind of address those as early as possible, some of those concerns. I did submit an appeal, which hopefully was received. Let's see, my notes. And just more opportunities for discussion. It's a very interesting time. I've been in an arts administration fellowship funded by the California Arts Council, and I really want to help contribute to the landscape here locally, and I would love to see more opportunity for that, especially in these times currently. And I would love to see more transparency and just the committee to be accessible to a lot of the youth here in Fresno. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Lilia Gonzalez-Chavez.
Hello. I have been criticized for supporting established arts organizations and for making it possible for individual artists to receive funding in this process. Both are true. In a community where we have no major corporations or foundations, median household income is $67,000, and the poverty rate hovers at 20% of the population. There are no well-funded or stable arts organizations. We are a community of great need. Our individual artists and emerging arts organizations need help to grow, and our established organizations need support to sustain and stabilize. When I talk about art for art's sake, I'm not talking about separating art from culture and social practices. I'm talking about the value and importance of art as a main subject worthy of funding for its ability to strengthen humanity. Prior to Measure P, and now, the Arts Council has been open to people with ideas. We incubated programs like the Alliance for California Traditional Art, Breakbox Thought Collective, the Poet Laureate Program, Lit Hop, and others. Yes, even Dulce Upfront. It's no accident that Measure P includes language of equity and inclusion. I and others who believe in increasing access to the arts for everyone were in the room where this was written, wielding pens.
Thank you. Next speaker, Andrea Mealy.
Hi, my name is Andrea Mell, Program Manager at Fresno Arts Council. In my 4 years here, and often from a seat right over there, I've had the privilege to observe and participate in Measure P's implementation, from community initiative through cultural arts plan and grant guidelines development to the review, approval, and disbursement of first cycle grants, a historic investment of over $9.3 million for cultural arts in the city of Fresno, the early fruits of which we celebrated Thursday night at a grantee open house. Lessons from the first cycle led to a set of clarifying policies presented for public comment and approved by City Council in January 2025. New policies include a letter of intent, which allowed FAC to review applicants' eligibility and notify them of necessary correction. This policy improvement, among others, led to many more eligible proposals, 195, seeking roughly half as much available funding as last year. 32 volunteer panelists, each with their own cultural arts experience, devoted many hours to training, application, reading, scoring, and panel discussion, and I want to acknowledge their thoughtful and vital work. Panelists do not recommend funding recipients, amounts, or overall allocations. Their scores, however, should be upheld even as we refine the process for the future. Delays and pauses will negatively impact intended grantees who are counting on even modified funding to continue operating or to kick off project planning. FAC welcomes feedback and community discussion. This has been true since the ordinance was drafted. However, delayed consideration of panelists' work and the subcommittee's recommendations places undue hardship on this round of intended grantees. Many of you here tonight have fought for this incredible opportunity to nourish and support Fresno's cultural arts communities. Fresno Arts Council and I personally have worked in deep commitment and good faith to facilitate that support through careful, ethical, timely, clear, and objective administration and technical assistance. And it is our sincere commitment to build on this foundation as we move forward. But we must move forward. Thank you.
Next speaker, Julia Copeland.
Hi, I'm Julia Copeland. I'm a member of the Fresno Arts Council Board of Directors. I also play violin with the Fresno Philharmonic. This past weekend, the Philharmonic played some terrific concerts that included a celebration of Michoacana culture by composer Juan Pablo Contreras. Contreras first came to town in 2014 as a guest of the youth orchestras of Fresno. Last year, he came back on the occasion of the premiere of his very first symphony, which was composed with Measure P funds from last season. The arts in this town are completely interconnected. We exist as part of a cultural ecosystem. That's why we understand that Measure P funding is the best thing since sliced bread. After all, we have subsisted on very little bread for decades. But that's also why it is so damaging when the funding process is interrupted. We live on very narrow margins. Timing is everything. Would we prefer that funding for nonprofits were not run like the Hunger Games? Of course we would. But for the moment, this is the way things are. My wish today is that the monies already promised to arts organizations for 2025 be released immediately. Promises made must be kept. The time for reconsidering and revising the process will come before the next grant cycle. For the moment, we are in the moment, and the business of this moment is to fund local artists and arts organizations according to decisions already made by this committee. As a city, we are in the totally enviable position of being able to offer this generous funding for another 28 years. That's plenty of time for revising the process, and plenty of time for nurturing an arts infrastructure that will lift all our boats.
Thank you. Next speaker, Nefesha.
Hold on, don't start yet. I need to see. Okay, greetings to the commission and the community. My name is Nefesha Yisrael. I speak today as a community member with deep investment in arts and culture. I'm not here as on behalf of an organization or as an applicant nor a panelist. I come as a student of arts and culture, of community building, and of local organizing, continuing to learn, often from many of you in this room. I recognize the imperfections of this funding process. The frustrations expressed by community members are valid, and it's the community's duty to fight for justice and equity and hold leadership accountable. I've seen cities across the state struggle because there has been a lack of access to funding, and Measure P is a safeguard that we shouldn't take for granted. These funds have the power to reach everyone from emerging artists to our largest organizations. And Fresno has historically lacked access to this type of support. And it will take time to educate, empower, and build equitable processes with stronger checks and balances. I've already expressed my concerns to the Fresno Arts Council leadership, reports of cultural incompetence, complicated power dynamics, bias, and inequality in the review process. And I believe there's an opportunity for progress if the Fresno Arts Council and community work together for transparency, listening, and the opportunity and a commitment to change. That said, every delay in distributing this year's funds can cause more harms for arts and culture communities already operating in a deficit. We need a path forward that is both responsive and proactive, one that holds all parties accountable and acknowledges historic harm to communities who have long been sidelined. We must each commit to a collective problem solving so that Fresno's diverse communities can bring new and bold ideas, which is exactly what this grant is meant to support, expanding access to arts and culture in meaningful and transformative ways. I appreciate your time. Thank you, and have a good evening.
Thank you. Next speaker, Joseph Rios.
Hello, I'm Joseph Rios, and I'm the director of Lit Hop, an annual literary festival that happens in Fresno's historic Tower District. I'm speaking here for other emerging organizations recommended for funding and asking us not to pull the emergency brake on this round of funding already recommended by the Fresno Arts Council. I can't speak for the established orgs, but I feel for my friends and colleagues slated to receive funding, like was mentioned earlier, Guelaguetza, Hello Fresno, ASA, and like Lit Hop, others for whom any amount of delay would be devastating to their sustainability and stunt their growth after a year unlike any other in Fresno, when so much of our artists' work and lifetime of experience became murals, new art spaces, new festivals, and new cultural programming. These orgs aren't the orgs with deep pockets, coffers of cash, or endowments. They're scrappy, overworked, underpaid artists trying to bring more art to the city. None of us are perfect, and none of these systems are perfect after only 2 years. As a working artist in this town and the former Fresno Poet Laureate, I believe we have a strong advocate in Fresno Arts Council. I don't believe anyone is claiming this process or its actors are beyond reproach. Only together can we endeavor to perfect them, make them more accessible and transparent. The concerns of the dissenters in the room are valid and deserve this commission's attention. I implore this commission to have that rigorous debate and conversation about how to improve the disbursement of Measure P funds. However, in that quest, that we do not sacrifice the orgs and artists already recommended for funding. There are too many people involved who could not afford this delay. It is incumbent upon us to be responsible stewards of these public funds. What joins a lot of people in this room is a love and devotion to Fresno's creative community, and we should start there. And may we commit to improving the process, commit to dialogue, commit to sincere reflection, and ratify this year's funding recommendations so we continue to work.
Thank you. Next speaker, Carolyn Thomas.
Oh dear, I'm short too. Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. We short people need a little help once in a while. I'm Carolyn Thomas, and I'm representing Soli Deo Gloria of San Joaquin Valley. It's a premier women's ensemble within the city of Fresno, and this is our first try at going for an EEAC grant proposal, and I say we've been very supported, very professional staff at the Fresno Arts Council, whom I really appreciate. We all do through this whole process. I'm so sorry that there have been issues within the subcommittee, and I understand that we'll have another chance to meet with you and meet with the commission, and I appreciate all of that. So what our proposal is to support high school students in Fresno, invite them to join with a professional women's or singing organization and learn a lot from that, and celebrate the U.S.'s 250th anniversary next spring. So just sidebar, Jose, I saw your television commercials. Very well done. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next speaker, Ariana Chavez.
Lift it all the way up. No. Thank you.
Might as well just stand right there.
Buenas tardes. My name is Ariana Paz Chavez, Executive Director of Arte Americas. Arte was recommended to receive 60% of our request for general operating support, and I'm here today to ask the PRAC to approve this funding recommendation. Since your vote has been delayed, I want to urge my colleagues in the room to work together. Everyone involved, applicants and the Arts Council, have acted in good faith. This year's grants process followed national models, including the National Association of Latino Arts and Cultures and the Institute of Museums and Library Services. May it rest in peace. The Arts Council is more than capable of reviewing recommendations and improving the process through research and feedback. Last year's feedback helped shape this year's process to improve accessibility. That made things slightly harder for Arte, and that's okay with me. When I look at this year's funding recommendations, I see a wider range of groups receiving support, and that aligns with Arte's objective to be a part of a healthy, inclusive arts ecosystem. With guidance from the Arts Council, Arte stepped up. Last year, we acted as the fiscal receiver for 3 aligned projects. This year, we scaled up to support 6 organizations, and one of them received one of the highest scores in the city. We will continue to adapt as long as this process continues to move forward toward inclusivity and consistency. This means the funds need to be distributed on time. We need these funds now for essential costs that keep our community safe when they're on our property. Arte serves 23,000 people annually and hires over 20 artists each year. If we don't receive these funds, my small team will be forced to shift their focus away from serving the community. There's still trust that needs to be rebuilt within this arts community, and we can choose to move forward and do that work or risk losing the opportunity to bureaucracy. As the director of our region's largest and oldest Latina cultural center, I would be remiss if I did not name the fact that our communities are under attack right now. Arte was designed to present a counter-narrative, to offer space of comfort, affirmation, and empowerment, and our community needs us to stay focused on our work. Let's move forward together.
Next speaker, Romy Thompson. Romy Thompson. Thank you.
Hello, I am Romy Thompson. Thank you for letting me speak with you this evening. I'm going to chat GBT mine really short now. Everybody's pretty much said it, what we were going to say. We are a brand new emerging artist this year. We're part of the San Joaquin Clay and Glass Association. They are an LLC and a 301c, 501(c), sorry. The biggest thing that I wanted to say as a new applicant and a businessman in Fresno, we had a huge learning curve on writing a grant. It wasn't an easy endeavor, but the Fresno Arts Council held seminars for us to go and ask questions. They answered all the questions. We got to meet with other participants that had received grants before, and during this whole educational process, we realized that we need to do our job as business people and people that are going to take a part of this Measure P fund and make it work for the community. So I just want to say that as people that are coming in and getting the grant, it is important for us that have received it. We have a lot of moving parts and we are on a timeline. This grant started in July of this year and it ends in June of next year. We have hard costs that have to get engaged now in order for us to coordinate all the moving parts to bring our festival to fruition. And I just want to say that the questions that need to be answered that we want to know are part of our educational process, and we will get to those questions in the following year. And I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. Eileen Stein.
Good evening. My name is Ellen Armour Stein, and I serve as the Director of Development and Marketing with the Fresno Philharmonic. I am also a lifelong musician, a pianist, vocalist, and composer of over 35 years. And I'm a mother. Last year, with Measure P funds, the Fresno Philharmonic produced 17 live concert performances, which were attended by over 15,000 people, including 8,500 youth and 5,700 seniors. Attendees came from every city council district as well as the surrounding area, and thousands more engaged with the Fresno Philharmonic content online and through a continuing rebroadcasting partnership with Valley Public Radio. We are doing what the voters approved Measure P to do, which is making great art accessible to city residents and using the attracting power of art to energize the city of Fresno's economy and make Fresno a great place to live, work, and raise a family. As for my own family, I met my husband through the Philharmonic at an artist luncheon hosted by said organization back in 2019. He's a civil litigator by day and a gifted musician every possible other available hour. And together we raise our 2 children. This past year, I got to witness my 11-year-old stepdaughter participate in our Link Up program, which serves over 7,000 Fresno students. It brought me to tears to see my daughter engaged in something so transformative, and I anxiously await the day that I get to see my now 2.5-year-old son experience it as well, when maybe he can finally sit still. But I've become wondering, will this program still be around for my Maxwell and other Fresno children who it so needly and deservingly serves? Delay in the 2025 EAAC grants will cause real and substantial harm to the many organizations approved for this funding. It would also be a slap in the face to applicants who participated in the grant process in good faith. How can anyone trust this process in the future if, after all of the guidelines approved by the PRAC and the City Council were followed, the funding was not awarded? Our season is underway. We call you to approve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, David Roberts.
Hello, my name is David Roberts. I'm a ceramic artist, a general contractor, and a certified teacher. I received the individual artists for 30% of the $50,000. My project is the Eaton Trail benches, 5 benches, 4-foot diameter, 18 inches tall, embedded with bas-relief ceramic murals measuring 1 foot by 12 foot 6 long. I've already promised paid apprenticeship to 2 of my students, and they are fully expecting to be paid and start work, and that has been delayed. The purpose of my project was to create functional public art, introduce and educate the public to the local natural world along the 5-mile Eaton Trail. I have the full support of the San Joaquin River Conservancy, and I'm backed by the San Joaquin Clay and Glass Association. San Joaquin River is our collective local heritage. These benches will expand upon and create more of an existing destination location. The Eaton Trail is free to everyone and everybody in Fresno. World-class cities deserve world-class walkways. I want to create a more vibrant, prideful, engaging city and build upon the 5-mile path filled with visible art. The benches, bench 1 is San Joaquin Valley, bench 2 is Valley Oaks, bench 3 Blue Herons, bench 4 Monarch Butterflies, bench 5 Chinook Salmon. And as I said, I've already hired my help that's been promised with this funding. I've already started the benches, and I'm ready to go with it. So release the funding, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Elliot Balch.
Good evening, Commissioners. Elliot Balch with the Downtown Fresno Partnership, and we are grateful to be active and prolific participants in expanding access to arts and culture in Fresno. Certainly a process people trust is important, so hearing and addressing concerns about the process is important. And I think the most constructive input that I can give looks back a year. Last year, on an admittedly somewhat narrower basis, we also strenuously raised what I believed were legitimate concerns about the process. And it's not as if I just loved the handling of our concerns at the time, but I had a chance to briefly present those concerns here to the PRAC, as well as in writing. And having done that, we didn't seek to further repeal or extend the process. And our concerns were addressed in the guideline revisions for round 2 from last time to this time, for which we thank the Arts Council and the PRAC Arts Subcommittee. So in a small way, I can simply attest that continuous improvement is possible. And thanks to all of you for the work you're putting into this for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next speaker is Bruce Kalakowski. Thank you. I tried.
My name is Bruce Kalkowski, and I'm past president of the Fresno Art Council and current board member. I am often asked what's going on with Measure P. Where are we at? And I've tried to come down with kind of a elevator explanation. The situation is that the city taxpayers gave us millions of dollars for arts and culture. And we had a contest to see who would win the prize. Now, the winners were announced, and some people felt they should have won or won a bigger prize or didn't like the rules. So the commission says, okay, no one gets a prize until everyone is happy. This isn't going to happen. You're not going to make everybody happy. When the Constitution was written over 250 years ago, or coming up on 250 years ago, they didn't get it right, so that's why we have amendments. These people need funding. You'll hear many people explain their situation. All I'm asking you is be pragmatic, give the people their money that they've already won, and we'll work through the process so it gets better and better every year. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Alicia Rodriguez.
Evening. My name is Alicia. I'm the chair and co-founder of the Labyrinth Art Collective, an organization dedicated to uplifting marginalized voices and platforming underrepresented talent. Growing up in Southeast Fresno, I knew what I still consider to be some of the most talented artists, musicians, muralists, poets, and so on, who move through life either with limited display of their talents or totally abandoning them altogether, most often due to lack of resource or opportunity. Although our organization was indeed also recommended for funding, and yes, we want our money too, we would be remiss to not join with others in the community demanding a transparent and equitable process. How can we move forward when the scores are tainted? There has been documented biases, which you will hear more of today, questions about the process, and when we look at the objectives, there's more than timeline that is required by the ordinance. How can we call it expanding access to arts and culture if we can't answer the question adequately? How is this gap being bridged? Measure P's core mandate, section 7-1506, requires funding organizations that, quote, reflect the cultural, geographic, and demographic diversity of the city of Fresno, end quote, and specifies that the program, quote, shall prioritize organizations and programs that support and expand diverse public or youth engagement and equity, end quote. Is the process meeting those mandates? We have yet to have official data supporting that. For starters, over 80% of the funding goes to established organizations and 20% to emerging or newer organizations. Right off the bat, it's disproportionate. And documented bias has compromised the current scores. The commission has not until today responded to a letter sent on behalf of a community coalition that had given feedback since the beginning of the process and through the year. This is a taxpayer initiative, and we hope that the people's money We'll include the people in the discussion on where it goes. We all want our money, but the process needs to be improved.
Next speaker, Johannes.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Johannes Reinders. I want to acknowledge and not diminish several community commenters today wanting funding to be released as is, that the process is never perfect. And I have no personal or animosity, no personal criticisms or personal animosity towards the Fresno Arts Council staff. However, I must stress that my concerns and my concerns of others submitted in writing are not about the process being imperfect. They're about the scoring process being poisoned by direct, perhaps unintentional, but direct bias. I want to read, again, these are all quotes during the panel scoring sessions, and they are spoken by Executive Director Dr. Chavez when panelists are supposed to be speaking. August 1st, 7:50 p.m. Is your purpose to teach an art form, or is it mental health wellness? Art is taking a secondary role, and we don't want that. We want art for art's sake. Friday, August 8, 5:05 p.m. Well, we need to diversify our grant program here because people are applying for the full $50,000 amount when they don't need it. They just go for the max amount they can. 5:57. One could argue that anyone in Fresno County counts as underserved because the service proposed in this application has not been available in Fresno before. If they are only taking students into their project with strong musical skills, that's not going to be in Southeast Fresno students, is it? Wednesday, August 13th, 5:31 p.m. But it inflates the budget of this application, which is a problem. Friday, August 1st. 6:07 p.m. What is the recruitment plan? We've had programs last year where projects failed to get enough kids to participate in their project. 6:25 p.m. Their ballroom rental budget is too small. They had unrealistic projections in their budget that makes us question their capacity. I just want to be clear, the scores are tainted. This is not a panelist speaking, this is the staff of FAC. We have to redo it.
Next speaker, Nazarene Johnson.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nasreen Johnson. I am speaking today on behalf of being a community member. Measure P Arts funding is our funding, right? We all pay into those taxes, and it's really important that the process is transparent. And I want to acknowledge that the process is only in its second year and that improvements have been made, but that's not enough. I was really glad that some of the comments were just made. I was in some of those sessions. I was a panelist. And so from my point of view as a panelist, I wanted to share my thoughts. I didn't have a great idea. There could be additional transparency of the large picture. I had 29 projects to review and score and discuss with my fellow panelists, but without knowing the total, how many, how much funding that was requesting versus how much, if we scored them a certain way, all of the funding decisions would be happening behind closed doors, and that isn't acceptable. It needs to happen in public, much like how the city of Fresno got their hand slapped and had to have more public transparency. We need to do the same here. As an elected official in my other capacity, there can never be too much transparency. The things that come before a public body to spend public funds should always be open and accessible. I was concerned that people weren't allowed to be in the panel interviews. I was concerned that we didn't have the information from the previous year. Even though those weren't finished, there were still mid-year checkups. I don't want to fund organizations that aren't expanding arts, and we had additional information that just wasn't provided. So please listen to the comments that you're hearing tonight and assess the funding.
Thank you. Next, we have Monica Madrigal.
Good evening. My name is Monica Madrigal. I was a panelist for this year's EAAC grant application. This was my first time having the opportunity to be part of this process. The orientation process for the panelists was online. These online sessions were vague and unclear. We were told to use our best judgment and refer to the goals listed in the City of Fresno Cultural Arts Plan booklet. We were also told that applicants could attend the panel discussions, however, that needed to be requested through email for time and date. Requests for the comments also had to be submitted through email, which I found awkward because I felt this information should have been readily available from FAC. If we consider the fact that these are public funds, transparency should be top priority and not so hush-hush. My panelists consisted of 3 people. We oversaw 29 applications. I thought we worked well together even when we disagreed. We were open and honest. I quickly realized, however, some representatives of FAC also had opinions and made them known. These vocalized thoughts were biased towards some projects and objective towards others, which made me second-guess myself and feel uncomfortable asking questions. As a Mexican-American, two-spirit queer person, there was a project that reflected my queer community, the community that is being villainized at the moment, by the way. The project was written off as a social project, though I disagreed because I saw the culture in it. Why is that? Because it's my culture. Just because it wasn't applicable to them, they couldn't see it or justify the culture. But for people like me, it is nothing but just that. This is a time in our world funding such projects like these are a matter of life and death, especially programs for BIPOC and LGBTQ plus communities. We need to make sure these groups are seen, heard, and represented. Is culture just for the privileged? Is it just for the light-skinned? Is it for the elite and the established? Or is it for people that like to name drop or the powers that be that like to check a box?
Thank you. Next, we have Ome Lopez.
What we're not going to do is spend our time discrediting applicants and panelists instead of fixing the process. What you're not going to do, Lilia, is come into my workplace to intimidate me, tell me I'm wasting everyone's time, and then mock me in front of other applicants and my grandmother. When I told you that you have a lot of power, and you said, no, I don't, I said, come on, man, and you said, come on, man, didn't you? Embarrassing. And that's how you treated me. And imagine how someone with less power feels. And here's what else you're not going to do. Off the record back channels. Do not reach out to me through extended family or other side doors. Put communications on record, because let's be real. What exactly happened last year in June? Downtown Partnership threatened to sue. By July, the city stopped Art Hop for August, and then suddenly Downtown Partnership was running Why Not Wednesdays. And the potential lawsuit just went away. That's not accountability, that's back-end deals. You also don't get to turn the next day's subcommittee meeting into a scapegoat section about Dulce up front, because we fiscally sponsored dozens of applications after being told last year that organizations and artists need to figure it out. We're not going to be gatekeepers. We removed a barrier to people so that they can apply. Panels and the subcommittee were supposed to judge the merits, not attack the folks who help neighbors get in the door. And to clear up the fear messaging, people are being told that if funds don't stay with the Fresno Art Council, it will go into the hands of the city, and it will be much worse, and no one will be getting their money this year. That's why all these people are here talking. Laura, you don't think that I know that you've been calling people individually? Ariana, Lilia's daughter, who's with the Arte Americas, isn't calling people saying the same thing? You guys are messaging us?
Thank you. Thank you. Please. Let's keep it respectful, and let's move on to the next speaker. Christina Soto.
I'm here again today before you, frustrated and disappointed with the Fresno Arts Council and the EAAC Grant Subcommittee's response to concerns raised by applicants and panelists. When I first reached out to Commissioner Ward on August 3rd, my concerns were dismissed as apparent misunderstandings. Yet weeks later, the same issues appeared in the Monroe Review, showing these concerns were real and shared by many. Instead of creating open dialogue and listening to the voices of dozens of concerns, and according to dozens of concerns, this subcommittee chose to target an organization, according to your minutes, who worked tirelessly without funding, mind you, to support over 50 emerging groups. Meanwhile, far larger awards went to FAC's partners and sponsors, totaling almost $1 million, almost 15% of the total funds, which interestingly enough, Laura, I found that your law firm actually sponsors Fresno Arts Council. So I don't see how it's ethical.
Hey, please, let me stop you, please. Can we just let Christina get through her comments, and let's just keep it moving, please.
So I don't see how that's an equitable process. This is not transparency, and this is not equity. Today we call on the PRAC to reevaluate the makeup of the EAAC subcommittee to reflect Fresno's demographic and cultural diversity, which it currently lacks, adding seats for artists and cultural representatives, especially those from the underserved communities of Southwest and Southeast Fresno. Make this a standing committee with ongoing process improvements, or we will continue to be here year after year having this fight where some people come out winners, and that's great that some organizations had a great experience, but unfortunately many did not, and we should not be standing here discrediting them. We need to make this a standing committee to implement the suggestions that I already spoke on. We owe it to our community to ensure fairness, transparency, and true representation.
Thank you. Before I call the next speaker, let's be respectful to the person that's making the comments, and let's keep the noise down to a minimum, please. I know there's a lot of different emotions in the room, and people are going to be heard, so please, let's just keep it respectful. Next speaker is Kyle Lopez-Smith.
Good evening, Kyle Lopez-Schmidt, South Tower Community Land Trust. Getting to my notes here. We were an applicant for our own project, as well as sponsoring two other independent artists. We were recommended for award. Our two fiscally sponsored were not, but in observing the panel review sessions and my own experience with our project, I cannot not speak up about the injustices and the bias that I witnessed. Within the review sessions that I witnessed, there was a racial bias against Black organizations, as well as small cultural organizations that don't have the capacity to outreach to the general public, and those points were dinged within the DEI statements, which was very strange for me for such a small cultural organizations that can't bring in the entire public for them to be hit for DEI. Within our own organization, Lilia went on a monologue about how our budget was inflated based on false information. I've presented that information to her, and she has not acknowledged that or apologized for it, just that it did not affect the scoring, even though she interrupted a panelist while they were in the middle of trying to increase our score. Also want to highlight that this is a small town, and so when your daughters come up and speak in support of your organization, but they don't disclose that you're related, and that they're both winning awards, that's we need to disclose these conflicts of interest, because disclosure is the first step. And 3 organizations that are recommended for established organization General Operations are sponsors of the upcoming Arts Council Horizon Awards, and we can't have that appearance of conflict, even the appearance of conflict. So we need to create mechanisms where that is corrected and that transparency is really paramount. Thank you.
Next speaker, Melanie Glass. Okay, we'll move on. I cannot read this name. Excuse me? No, it's like really hard. No. That's Measure P. Smiley, thank you. It started with an S. I was like, what?
Good evening. Thank you, Pratt Commission. First, I want to thank you all, but I want to acknowledge everyone in the room here that obviously love arts, and they're here for arts, right? City of Fresno. And first of all, I want to say I stand with everybody in saying we want to get paid. I mean, for sure. I want to thank the Arts Council for the work that they do. It's not easy. I also want to thank my fiscal sponsor, Dulce Upfront, that if it weren't for their support and help, I would no way have been funded. So I'm thankful to them. I got funded 60%. It wasn't what I was expecting. And from my other colleagues, that's what they weren't expecting, the gradations. So some of their funding, they can't do the projects that they intended to do, which is the problem. And then the funding that they get is also based, of course, on the score that they get, which is crucial. So if you get a 5, if you have 3 people that give you 5s and 1 that give you a 3, you're not getting funded the way you thought. Or you may not get funded at all. That's a problem. So I can feel the sense of, desperation in some of the people that didn't get funded at all, or get the funding that they need. But I also understand how people say, you know what? That's their problem. Just fund us now. I can't be that way, because we have to address the issues now. Whatever the issues may be, they need to be addressed going forward, or we're going to just have more problems, more hiccups in the future. People feel disenfranchised. So I really hope and trust that you all can deliberate the right answer. Thank you very much.
Melanie Glass. Melanie Glass.
She's right.
I'm calling her up.
Good evening, commissioners and arts family. I am Melanie Glass, CEO and founder of Be Awesome, abstract mixed media artist, veteran, and arts director for the Fresno Metropolitan Black Chamber of Commerce. First, I want to acknowledge the concerns that have been raised regarding the distribution of EAAC 2025-2026 grant funding. These concerns matter. They reflect the passion and commitment our community has for equity in the arts. But I must emphasize, delaying the release of the funds only harms the very artists and organizations these grants were designed to support. During the first round of funding, issues were raised and the Fresno Arts Council responded with adjustments that showed us the system can listen, adapt, improve, while still ensuring funds are awarded. Is that it?
No, you have one more minute.
Okay. All right. While I respect everyone's viewpoint, withholding funds at this stage undermines the trust and stalls progress. Artists, educators, and organizations are depending on these resources to pay staff, sustain programs, and deliver these opportunities that enrich our underserved communities. Instead of halting distribution, let's commit to strengthening the process, moving forward, and propose appointing a dedicated EAAC process manager under the Fresno Arts Council, along with training and compensating panelists for their service, and perhaps bring a diverse reviewers from outside of the Central Valley area. For applicants, I encourage you to participate in grant workshops and constructive engagement so concerns become solutions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Laura Porter.
Good evening. I'm here to put a face to where Measure P funds go. My name is Laura Porter. I am a professional musician. I am a proud member of the American Federation of Musicians, Local 12. My work, my livelihood, is that I perform as the harpist with the Fresno Philharmonic, perform with the Fresno Master Chorale, and coach students for the youth orchestras of Fresno, as well as perform alongside those students as their mentor. I am also a resident of Fresno, where I own my home, pay property and sales tax, and yes, I am a paying customer for the city's utility services. The money I earn as a member of the Fresno Philharmonic and as part of the Youth Orchestras of Fresno team means that I also hire tradespeople here, have my vehicles serviced here, visit doctors' offices here, and habitually shop local with intent and purpose to support Measure P. I have chosen to live and work in Fresno for the last 23 years. I came here because of the opportunities to contribute to this community as a professional musician in real and tangible ways, which may now be limited and or threatened. Now my work with 3 organizations is under threat. I could lose work this year, which means that I would earn less income and spend less in this community. I am only one voice here today, yet I represent many musicians who work for the Philharmonic and others. We provide private instruction for children and adults alike. We also serve as music instructors at both Fresno City College and Fresno State. We are a valuable resource to the city of Fresno.
Thank you. Next speaker, Des Washington.
Good evening. My name is Des Washington. I stand here tonight not just as a recommended grantee, recommended at 60%, but as a lifelong Fresnan who has watched the same patterns repeat in this city again and again. In Fresno, too often the way things get done is not about fairness or equity or community. It's about who you know. It's about privilege. It's about back scratching and closed doors. And I have seen time after time how those with power and connections lift each other up while the people on the ground level doing the work get left out. And sadly, it's not just white people or white institutions. I have seen people of color, leaders who should know better, assimilate into that system. I have seen them trade accountability for access, sell out their own communities, and choose their individual gain over collective equity. That is not liberation. That is repeating the same oppression under a different face. This moment with Measure P is one small example of a much bigger truth. In Fresno, public processes are too often compromised. We polish the picture for the public, but behind the curtain, it's the same old politics. That is why trust is so low. That is why our city struggles to move forward. So tonight, I am making a plea. Let this be the time that we do things differently. Let this be the time that we choose transparency over manipulation, equity over privilege, community over connections. Let this be the moment We break the cycle that has defined Fresno for far too long. We owe it to our young people, to our artists, to our neighborhoods, and to every taxpayer in this city to finally handle things the right way. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Haley White.
I'm going to go fast, so adjust your ears. I'm a founding member of the Fools Collaborative and an interdisciplinary artist. Before we got our 501c3 status in 2018, we relied on the Fresno Arts Council as a fiscal sponsor, and we're grateful for their support. I've historically respected their role in the community, but my experience with the Measure P grant process, along with feedback from other applicants and panelists, has left us all very frustrated and very disappointed. There was a distinct lack of transparency and consistency throughout the process, as well as a lack of support and education for panelists. I'm also deeply disturbed by artists and orgs here who would want to move forward with a tainted process and remind them that they could find themselves on our side of the issue one or many times over in the next 28 years if things aren't addressed. Because Measure P funding is categorized emerging versus established using financials solely, including required tax documents before tax season was over, we were forced into a more competitive pool with fewer funds, even though we've been established in towns almost a decade. Many of us felt that panelists sometimes didn't fully read or comprehend our proposals, whether that be to time limitations, disinterest, interference, or lack of familiarity with the subject matter. Panelists we know have admitted that all proposals did not get equal time, some even saying they felt bullied to change scores. While cultural plans and DEI language are easy to write and say you support, they mean nothing if the systems aren't being evaluated by the people they're meant to support in real time. Our initiatives with the Fool was to have creatives of color navigate mostly white-led, white-produced, white-attended theater scene, and it was doxed for leaving certain parts of the initiative up to the participants rather than deciding preemptively ourselves, which would negate the very process we were applying with. We were dinged for it being an internal capacity-building initiative without wide outreach goals. We were penalized for using the term mini grants when another friend, for artist stipend, when another friend lost points for not listing artist stipends, although one of the panelists said they did like that we said mini grants. So this sort of inconsistency makes the whole process feel unwinnable.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Next speaker, Jenny Guerrero.
Hi, my name is Jenny Guerrero, and I'm the co-owner of Hello Fresno Art Studio. Last year, with funding from Measure P, we started the Hearts of Downtown as a project to cultivate creativity in downtown, offering low-cost workshops to the public and employing local artists to instruct them. Last year, we received operating and project support. This year, after demonstrating significant growth and success, we are effectively being defunded. To launch our Measure P project last year, we shifted our established for-profit business and dedicated ourselves entirely to this initiative. Despite a 6-month delay to our start last year, we worked tirelessly and ended the grant year by doubling our initial goal for community outreach. This success is exactly what Measure P's own language calls for. Section 7-1504, it states that grants shall prioritize organizations that support and expand diverse public or youth engagement and equity. I personally was under the impression and felt confident that the concerns raised after last year's delays would be addressed, assuring stability for high-performing grantees. Instead, we are at a point now where we may be forced to break our lease that runs until December 2025. Without a classroom and gallery space, we cannot continue to provide our workshops or host our monthly group curated art exhibitions. With this dramatic reduction in funding, council members, we are left feeling defeated that all of our efforts and the city's initial investment in our project will be wasted. We are not just a line item on the budget, we're a platform for 85 local artists and a hub of 100 community members, adults and children that have attended our workshops. It's truly unfortunate that after working so hard to build the kind of creative culture that downtown desperately needs due to funding delays. How can Measure P effectively invest in long-term programs if it results in 2 steps forward, 3 steps back for those who succeed? We need Measure P so we can continue this vital work without displacing our established and successful cultural community center.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Dave Brody.
Thank you. Good evening to the commission. I'm going to shorten my statements that I was going to make. I'm going to say two things. One, I'm representing the Peace Rocks Foundation, which is the sponsor of Hearts on Fire, Fresno's only rock and roll choir. We put on a concert every year at the Tower Theater. So almost all of our grant money goes back to the Tower Theater. So we're a supporter of the city of Fresno. My experience last year and this year with the Fresno Arts Council was nothing but good. It was transparent, it was easy, it was questions were answered. I remember last year when we went through the same thing with the commission, the commissioners were all open-eared, ready to listen, ready to deal with things. I understand, after 40 years of working in politics, that anytime you have money on the table, you're going to have a fight. What I'm requesting of this group is the same thing I'd request of any group, is don't take things personal, don't make it personal, and don't make it angry. Try to get the emotion out of it. We're all in support of art. In the last month, I'm a rock and roller. I went to a jazz show that was beautiful. I loved it. I went to the Fresno, put on by the Tower District Preservation Association. I went to the opening exhibit of the Fresno Art Museum, which was awe-inspiring. And yesterday I went to the concert at the Philharmonic. I'm not a classic music guy. It was beautiful. It was wonderful. And it was a conglomeration of all these different organizations, Arte Americas and the Philharmonic, people working together. We can do all that. We just have to step back, take a breath, and continue on. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Brandon Wise.
Good evening, Commission and members of the public. My name is Brandon Weiss, and I am the Executive Director of Chanticleer Shakespeare Company, Fresno's first professional equity theater. At our last meeting, I spoke about some consistency and transparency opportunities, and I also asked the Commission and the Fresno Arts Council to give some thought into the overarching goals of the EAAC funds. I want to take a moment to clarify that those concerns were not intended to delay or derail this current grant cycle. They were shared with the intention of strengthening the process going forward so that it continues to grow, improve, and serve our community as effectively as possible. At the same time, we must recognize the immediate need and impact of these funds. Many organizations, ours included, have already begun project planning and preparations in anticipation of this funding. We've made commitments, gathered teams, begun outreach, with the understanding that while these grant amounts might be lower than originally anticipated, they still provide crucial support. To withhold or delay these funds now would be more than a setback. It could jeopardize projects that are ready to bring arts programming to the city of Fresno in a real and meaningful way. In 2025, Chanticleer Shakespeare Company, with the support of Measure P funds, was able to create something that had never existed in the city of Fresno. While many professional theaters and businesses have closed their doors for various reasons, we are poised to open our doors to a second season production. Our intent is to deliver on a production that is truly magical and one-ups the previous year's production. While the intent to award percentage is not what we anticipated, without it completely, Chanticleer Shakespeare Company might disappear forever, left to be a footnote in the history of Fresno. So while I continue to support a thoughtful review and improvement of the grant process over time, I respectfully urge the Commission to consider moving forward with the disbursement of this round of funds. At most, a swift time-bound review period by the Commission would be a welcome, constructive step. Thank you.
Next speaker, Juan Murrow.
Hello. Hi. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Juan Carlo Muro. I'm one of the co-founders of ASA, an independent publishing collective that was founded in 2022 by myself and my partner Vicente Velasquez, the third, all out of a desire to design, print, share, archive, all the creative work rooted in the Valley. I would like to recommend funds be released. I am here to speak about my experience as an applicant and a volunteer from last year's application process. I attempted to apply last year as an independent artist, as part of our publishing collective, meeting with organizations, nonprofit groups. Unfortunately, we were not able to lock in sponsorship at that time period. It was extremely frustrating, daunting, and disheartening, especially since it's been something that we've been active since 2022. Even though we felt frustrated and disheartened with the process, we decided to participate and become active panelists, reviewing and participating, understanding who are the people reviewing these applications, and understanding arts and cultures in our communities. Through that process and review, we planned for a year and continued self-funding our current artist residency program that you can see experienced today or this Thursday at our hop at Sacred Heart Coffee. ASA is one of only 2 applicants that scored a 6. I understand that this process isn't perfect, and I have seen from my own experience in the past how it helped shape our current score. This is the first grant I wrote and facilitated for our organization. I wish to be an example to show how the process does and can work. Though not perfect, I believe we can resolve a lot of the issues we see in the process for next year and the years to follow by continuing to be active in this process. The soil is good here. Let's continue caring and nurturing this program and all the great opportunities it provides for our city. Please move forward releasing the funds.
Next speaker, Donnie Del Toro.
Good evening. My name is Donnie Del Toro, a founder of local street dance group Underground Dynasty. Fresno has a rich history in street dance, from dance styles of popping and breakdancing, and the local scene has so much talent. We have been a group since 2017. We performed at Art Hop, have hosted community events, competitions, and workshops where we have brought in other dancers to come share their craft from hubs like LA and San Francisco. As a grantee of the EAAC grant, our group has planned to expand the access to this history and culture of Fresno street dance. As a first-time applicant, we agree and understand that the process does indeed need adjustments and could always be improved. And we also agree that the city should be held accountable to the timeline of this grant. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Julio Hernandez.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Julio Hernandez, and I'm the CEO of Positivo Inc., the owner and artist of Julio's Custom Studio, and I am the executive director of Chicanismo in Color. My artistic career began in the combat fields of Iraq over 20 years ago. I have multiple complaints about Measure P and the organizations who are part of these grants. My complaint is I can't thank everyone enough. Thank you to PRAC. I am so grateful for the hard work, dedication, and sacrifices of everyone. Thank you to the Fresno Arts Council. My fiscal sponsor, the Alliance for California Traditional Arts. I am grateful and thankful to Arte Americas, who supported my project partners, the City of Fresno, and the Fresno community for creating this. As an artist, with funds, with grants or no grants, it's going to continue on, with or without it. And I'm grateful for 1 penny or multiple pennies. And it is very difficult. It is hard to navigate the process, but it has made me grow. It has made me a better businessman. The ripple effect that Measure P has had in the entire community has helped so many businesses, so many artists, so many organizations, and I'm excited to see what the next 30 years hold. If 1 year had this much impact, I can't imagine what's going to happen over the next 28. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker, Jess Fitzpatrick.
Just hit the final one. Thank you for having this this evening. My name is Jess Fitzpatrick. My pronouns are he, him. I'm the executive director of Gender Alchemy. We were not one of the organizations that were able to succeed in getting funding this year, but we were an emerging grant, and we were, this was our very first really big grant that we were going for. But I had an amazing team of support, people who've worked with grants for many, many years, and we felt that we were working within the guidelines of what was given to us in the application for culture. And when we received the feedback that we were not going to get funded, I wasn't surprised by that, just because it was a very competitive field. But then I started hearing about what was some of the feedback that was given about the project. And that was what caused me concern. Mostly that there was a misunderstanding about the project, which was, I'll try and keep that short. There's a lack of leadership in my community to help grow leadership and to promote our culture. And so my intention was to try and build that leadership by sharing what I know about creating event spaces. And then show them and let them put on a project up for themselves. It was labeled a social work project, and also there were comments about maybe misunderstanding about trans and gender expansive culture. That also gave me a lot of concern. But even more so was about the other projects, hearing about the implicit bias about some of the Black, brown, the very different communities that were trying to raise awareness for their arts and culture, especially indigenous communities, was very upsetting. Thank you so much.
Next speaker, Jasmine.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jasmine Moore. I was the other applicant that received a perfect score, and I am fiscally sponsored by Dulce Upfront. I also was able to attend the open house at the Fresno Arts Council, and it was a beautiful event. It was nice to see all of the established organizations being honored and for them to have the opportunity to share with the community what it is that they are doing, and to have us be able to go and see what it is that they are providing. One of the things that I'd really like to see is the Fresno Arts Council take the opportunity to do what I call reaching down, and I know it's not a term that sounds really great, but essentially when you know that other people don't have as many opportunities to take interest in the less established artists, because we didn't have an invite to this event. We weren't recognized to come and be a part of these things, and I think it's important that established and emerging artists are able to interact and work together, especially when you are someone who has as much influence and you have the opportunity to take part in 3 of the 4 processes that then lead to people receiving funding. I think that's all I have for you. Thank you so much to the PRAC. Thank you to the Fresno Arts Council. Thank you to Dulce Upfront. I do want to say that you guys are in an impossible situation right now, and we do really appreciate you guys taking the time to create something for us to nurture the arts in our communities. really take the opportunity to reach out to people who do not have the platforms, because we desperately need them as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Rasante Avendano.
Hello, members of the PRAC. My name is Grisanti Avendaño. I use she, they pronouns. I'm coming to you today with a few roles in mind. One of them is being one of the first people that actually worked on Measure P, even before it actually was Measure P. I remember going to the parks in Fresno and really seeing the stark differences between North and South Fresno. So it's a little bit of a full circle moment as I stand before you today. I also serve as the executive director of Youth Organized California, where we actually organize pooled funds across the state. We've been able to integrate young people into an equitable process where they are the decision makers of who gets funding when it comes to youth organizing. And I am coming to you more as a resource on what are the other supports in community that you can call on as you make this really hard decision today. And there's also many lessons learned, and I actually want to ask for you all to also consider what is the resourcing, what is the training, what is the equitable process that is needed. I feel for organizations that have been already notified of awarded funding, so in no way, right, am I saying that decision is easy at all. As someone who has also had to say no to organizations that have applied for funding. So it is a very hard decision. And so more than anything, I want you to really think about what is the moving forward, what is the dialoguing of coming together that is fair and that is equitable, and that actually takes us to moving forward and not stalling us in the process, especially in the political moment we find ourselves in. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Aaron Bird.
I'm also short. No, we're good. I can project. I've got that voice. My name is Aaron Bird, and I am the Executive Director of Arts Enrichment for All. And I have listened to what everyone has said, and I think that all points and all sides are valid. Everyone in the room is making meaningful art and wants to contribute to a thriving city. As a fiscal sponsor, we had 3 of our projects out of the 5 that were intended to award. And while we're excited for them, we also see, too, that there are major inconsistencies. Last week, we did send over a letter to Director Aguirre as requested, so I won't get into that. But also, I do want to come and talk about solutions. How do we move forward together collectively in a way that all sides are seen and heard, but that we're moving forward in an expeditious way that honors those who have the intent to award as well? Others have said, you guys are in a lose-lose situation, right? And so some of the things that we recommended moving forward would be to, yes, call on other organizations, call on other resources in our community, and take what we've already done and maybe in the future have blind applications. I've been panelists for other things in other organizations, and it works really, really well because you cannot have the bias if you don't know who's presenting it to you. You can only base it on the facts that you see in front of you. A rubric, a strong rubric, is what creates consistency and allows people to not have wide-ranging comments that contradict each other. When I read panelists' comments for some of our projects, one says this is an exceptionally written application, and the other one says lacks direction or understanding of how to do XYZ. How do you have that juxtaposition, right? So the rubric is what is going to solve that problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no more speakers in chambers. Do we have anyone online?
Yes, we do have two speakers with their hands raised online. First, we have Jade McAfee. Jade, go ahead and unmute yourself. You'll have 2 minutes to address the commission. I see you've unmuted yourself. We don't hear you though, Jade.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Your 2 minutes start now.
Yeah, hi, my name is Jade McAfee. I will skip the intro. I, like many people here, am very much invested in this process of seeing Measure P funds be transformative. And I would just like to say that listening to the people who spoke today, it's very clear to me that there is a very stark difference between community members that are interacting with this process. And I think that doesn't discredit those who have raised concerns. I think it just underscores the need to investigate why that's there. There really should not be a difference in how community members are able to interact with the Arts Council or the process. And the fact that there is such a difference is really unacceptable. I also think it's a gross mischaracterization to say that we're, as community members with our concerns, are delaying the process. The funds were scheduled to be dispersed in October, as far as I understand. And I think also these concerns are incredibly important to maintaining Measure P as equity in practice and not just in policy, because I've heard a lot about equity as a policy built into the policy, but implementation takes practice. The rubric, for example, we wouldn't have to worry about high quality applications if the rubric was high quality. It would naturally encourage high quality applications. And I think having a rubric like it stands actually shows a lot of disdain for the community members and really allows individual artists to kind of be set up for failure. So I'd really like to see a rubric in place that it recognizes and acknowledges the excellence that exists in all the communities and neighborhoods across Fresno. Thank you.
Thank you.
And next up, we have Amy Kitchener. Amy, go ahead and unmute yourself. You'll have 2 minutes to address the commission.
Good evening. I'm Amy Kitchener, Executive Director of the Alliance for California Traditional Arts, one of the co-authors of the Arts and Culture Language in Measure P, written to ensure equitable access across Fresno's cultural, geographic, and economic diversity. ACTA also contributed $20,000 to the Measure P campaign. I served on the steering committee, and we are now a 60% recommended applicant and established operating support and a fiscal sponsor of 2 recommended emerging projects. I want to acknowledge the listening and consideration of recent public comments in furthering public transparency noted today by Vice Chair Ward. And I want to thank her, Chair McCoy, and all the members of the PRAC for their participation as civic volunteers. I look forward to participating in the new Public Arts Subcommittee meetings as you move through the process to address the critical issues that have been raised. My central concern has been and is transparency and review bias in the EAAC process. In August, I attended several review panel meetings at the Fresno Arts Council, and I've also shared my concerns with PRAC members. My intent is and has been to protect the integrity of Measure P. We cannot risk a legal challenge that could halt tax collections, as happened when the 1994 Arts to Zoo ordinance was overturned for lack of transparency. And it is critical that PRAC, FAC, and the subcommittee take the time to address the concerns, even though it has stalled the process. Let's get this right together for the next 28 years, which includes taking the time to correct process issues, bias, and considered revision for the future cycle guidelines with equity at the center in practice. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have anyone else online?
I have no other hands online.
No other? Go ahead.
I see Sin Chan Gloston. Go ahead and unmute yourself. You have 2 minutes to address the commission.
Thank you. That would be Sinead Chan-Golston. As an EAAC grant applicant, I come forward tonight to show support for the calls made by the Coalition for Fresno Artists. This summer and fall, I actually worked as a grant panelist for the California Arts Council, the same statewide granting organization, and ironically, the same exact panel that awards the Fresno Arts Council their state local partner status. For this experience, I can assure you that the issues presented by the coalition are not just suggestions, but requirements for granting organizations and assumptions that will be made for an equitable process. As a panelist, I underwent extensive bias training and was presented with the Fresno Art Council's state local partner application. I immediately declared a conflict of interest because of my active grant application. Declaring a conflict of interest isn't even an option given to the Fresno Arts Council, the PAC, or panelists. Apart from a lack of panelist training, Fresno Arts Council has demonstrated personal input and bias that directly conflicts with the grant scoring rubric and adherence to the official EAC guidelines. Individuals have also been approached by FAC admin during the active grant review process, making applicants fear retaliation for speaking against inequities. Distributing public funds on the basis of personal and professional relationships instead of the information provided by grant applicants is horribly unethical, especially with the lack of transparency regarding funding distribution and the demographics served. While delaying funding should be a last resort, public funds have to be distributed with the transparency and the equity it deserves. With my remaining time, I'd like to publicly thank Ome Lopez for their hard work and dedication regarding expanding arts and culture through acting as its fiscal sponsor and also fighting for transparency in the process, despite being recommended for funding themselves. Thank you.
Thank you.
And there are no other hands online.
Okay, I will now close public comment. Does any member of the commission have any questions or comments regarding this item? I will go first. Normally I don't go first. I pass it off to my commissioners, but we had a little bit over 50 people speak tonight to this item. I'm putting on my community organizer hat. That's how you organize. That's how you organize. When you're passionate about something, you show up and you make your comments, and this is how you organize. I respect the arts community so much because this is not the first time you have stormed my chambers and talked to me about the process. I understand that the process is not what everyone wants it to be, but this is only our second year, so please give us some grace and allow us to get it right so it could be an equitable process and across the board. I'm very proud of you guys as a community organizer. I got my community organizer hat on, not my Chair McCoy hat. Very, very proud of you guys. This is what community is made of, and I wish that we can do more of this on other issues. Our arts grant is very important, but if we can all come together on other issues, we can close that disparity gap. This is not easy for none of us. This is a very hard job, and we volunteer our time, and we show up every third Monday in every special meeting. And we hope to get this resolved so we can get those funds out to you guys. And I'm going to pass it off to my commissioners. Commissioner Barraza.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. I think what's important is we as commissioners have to remember how Measure P was passed. And maybe we all have different perspectives, but my perspective is that the southern portion of our city was not getting the resources that other parts of our city, specifically the north, remember there were some areas, 93706, 93702, there were some zip codes that were being left out. I really believe, I'm excited about what Measure P is doing, both in the area of parks and the area of the cultural arts area. And we definitely can improve. I wanted to make an observation. I happen to come from Southeast Fresno, so I tend to know more about what's happened there. So I noticed that Southeast Fresno in this process only received 3% of the funds, and that number in dollars is $200,000 out of $16 million. Now, we pay taxes too. We contribute to Measure P. So it may be pretty close. It's a pretty rough number, Lilia, but I think we can do better in that area. I wanted to also point out that one of the improvements that we have made from the last round, because we had the same problem last year, and many of you were probably here when we had those conversations. Obviously, the folks that are getting good money or a good allocation, well deserved. I have nothing against the largest organizations. However, we tend to fight against each other when we should be working together. It's okay that we don't agree on how things get done. But I wanted to point out one of the improvements, and thanks to the work of Lilia Chavez, Executive Officer of the Fresno Arts Council and the Commission. Basically, we added information about wanting to know, where are you going to provide services? Who do you provide services to? And one of the things that came up, we requested that zip code information be provided. Tell us who you're going to serve. Now, we have to be very careful how we get that information and how we want it to be the truth. We don't want the information that is fake, and I will not mention the name of a large organization, but some large, I guess we only have one Philharmonic. So anyway, any large organization, we ask, how many folks do you serve on the west side, south central, and southeast? And when that happens, we want to know. And I think now under the new process, guess what? We requested that information, and we have that information. We as commissioners are able to see that. So, but the problem with that information then becomes, how do we verify that in fact it's true? I'll tell you an event that I attended that I really liked, and it's actually Radio Bilingüe. They requested folks that attended to fill out a form to tell us, where do you come from? Where are you from? And that's a pretty simple step, but it allows us to have more faith in the process that folks that come from all parts of our city are benefiting from what we're doing. So I think that's a question that at some point I'd like to have Lilia Chavez address in terms of how do we verify that? And then if you ask people to give you some evidence, what do we do about it if they don't comply with it? After you give them the money and you get 200,000 or, I'm talking about the larger groups, what do we do about it? One possibility might be to have a penalty for the next year and not give you all the money. I don't know. That's something that probably the commission will have to discuss. What is the protocol that we would follow to ensure that that benefit that we are providing to less fortunate areas of our city is being documented? The other simple thing is we have talked about, I think, in fact, probably, members of the community, about how about the Philharmonic, I don't want to pick on the Philharmonic, let's say the Fresno Arts Council, the Fresno Arts Museum, or some other group. How about those groups selecting a school in Southeast Fresno that you give them tickets or you organize a trip to a performance? Why can't we get more creative to spread the benefits of this wonderful opportunity? And now it sounds simple, but is it being done? And I realize that, so that's perhaps what we need to share with the rest of the world, that you're doing a wonderful job, but you need to share with us and the community. I think that's one thing. The other comment that I wanted to make specific, there's been some information that I don't know if all the commissioners have had a chance to receive that information. I'm assuming it came to the chair, so I'm assuming that, I don't really know, but I received one communication that made some allegations that I think is fair for the chair or the executive officer of the Arts Council to address those points. And I'll cite two specific areas that I happen to have a concern about. One is the issues of conflict of interest. how do you address that? How do you, sometimes in my involvement with commissions and committees, they ask you if you know an organization, you should disqualify yourself. You probably have a protocol, but I just like the public, for the sake of transparency, to know what it is. I don't really know what that is, but that's an example. The other part too is, what is exactly the role of the Fresno Arts Council in working with the panel, the selection panel? You probably serve a role of staff, and I have served as staff to commissions and things, and you're able to make comments, but I've heard complaints that, hey, your comments are influencing the rating. Well, heck, that means that we need to specify what exactly is going to be the role of the Arts Council. That's one comment that I make, and maybe at some point Ms. Chavez can address that. And then what was the other one? Then the other one, there was one other item that I had some concerns about that kind of skipped my mind. But I think I have seen many wonderful projects listed on the things that are getting funded. And we realize that all the projects are going to get funded. But we have said that we welcome the input of all of you. But also I want to point out, right now in this round, we're following rules that are already approved. That those rules are proposed by us, the Arts Council, but they are finalized by the City Council. And we all have to follow those rules once they are approved. There is an opportunity when we start the next round to create or polish those rules, and there's plenty of opportunity for all of you to participate. And that's where I think should be able to improve ourselves in some of the areas that you have pointed out. But Madam Chair, that's a kind of quick overview of my concerns. And I'd kind of like to have Ms. Chavez just address some of the points that I made, if I could.
I do understand your concerns, but Ms. Chavez will be able to address the points when we get ready to pass the recommendations at our next meeting. And then we'll be able to address any questions that we have and should be able to address them.
All right, that's fine.
Commissioner Duran.
Yeah, thank you. First off, I want to thank everyone for being here. It's not just our night, it's your night, it's all of ours. And it's Monday, right? A lot of places we could be, but you're all here. And for myself, this is my 4th meeting. And so I appreciate everyone sharing your experiences, because I don't know what I don't know. And I'll tell you what, moving forward through these next few meetings, and I want to thank Commissioner Ward for kind of setting up the context of where we're at today and where we may not be at yet. This is definitely going to help shape my experiences, what questions to ask, and definitely everything moving forward. Thank you to the 195 applicants and projects. Definitely reaffirms why I think many of us, I'll speak for myself, joined this commission and love Fresno and are thankful to hear all of your passion in all of this work. And so definitely engaged tonight. Thank you again for being here, sharing all the comments, all of them. And I hope you can join us through the rest of the process and give your input, as I am definitely hearing. This process has changed and will continue to, and that's our opportunity, and thank you for being here. That's all for me.
Thank you. Commissioner Miller?
I just wanted to really briefly agree with your comments and your comments. And from my own position as a community volunteer for something like 35 years, I feel like a lot of what happens in this community and a lot of the important processes are sort of ignored by a lot of people. And I often wish that more people would get engaged, and this room certainly has gotten engaged tonight. So I'm grateful to all of you. And I'm certain that this process is improving. So thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Ward.
Thank you. Once again, I want to just thank everybody who showed up and who joined us online and participated to share their experiences and further the public engagement. Because it came up earlier, I do want to clarify, the reason I participate as a volunteer on this commission is because I was so profoundly impacted by Fresno's literary community when I was growing up. In my experiences going to the Fresno Poets Association and meeting Phil Levine and bringing him back to my high school to speak to our literary magazine. And that's why I got a degree in creative writing. And it's so important to me to see the arts and culture portions of Measure P be implemented, especially in a way that serves the youth. And when I moved back to town 18 years ago, I, became involved in trying to attend and support financially and through just physical attendance as many art and culture events and opportunities as I could, which does include sponsoring Art Hop with the Fresno Arts Council. I do want to disclose in the interest of full transparency, I also paid for my kids to attend workshops that were going to be offered by Dolce up front last July. Those ended up not occurring, but I'm a member of many of the art museums and I give my money to try to attend a lot of the organizations and support them. I go to Art Hop at the Labyrinth, and I think you guys are all doing amazing things. I really do hope that there can be a shift away from the personal attacks. I was encouraged to not be defensive or feel like it's personal, although I must admit it did feel personal at times tonight. I know that everybody is just really, passionate and committed, and I respect that, and I hope we can continue to respect each other as we move forward. Thank you.
Commissioner Collier.
I want to thank everybody for coming tonight, too. I admire your passion, and you point out some flaws in the system that need to be worked out. But at the same time, it's an ongoing issue that we can improve upon with our next session. I would hope that I don't know, Madam's lawyer, would we be able to vote on these things at the next meeting?
So when I do the agenda setting meeting, then we'll be able to see when we're going to be able to pass those recommendations, and it'll be printed out on the next agenda when the agenda goes public and come out to the commissioners.
Okay, so it should be out the next.
Once I set the agenda.
Okay, but I would encourage us to move forward with the grants and take into consideration everything everybody has said and work on some of those problems that are still affecting us. And this is a work in progress, and we're all trying to see our way through it. So you are heard, and you have every right to come and talk to us anytime. We want to listen. We want to hear what you have to say. And we thank you for all your contributions to the arts community. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Kurcharski.
I'm equally impressed with all the comments today. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. Thanks for my patience listening to all of them. I guess it's still just not entirely clear to me if there's a strong or a huge group that's saying don't move forward. I'm not entirely clear with that, so maybe I just need some clarity from, I don't know, subcommittee or from the PRAC or the subcommittee on that. I do hear a lot of comments towards that, but I also hear a lot like, please move it forward. So wasn't sure if it was just the comments today or there was more not at the meeting that I should be made aware of. Besides that, I just want to thank Commissioner Ward for taking the extra time to chair the subcommittee, because I can see there's a lot of effort put into that, more than I think the other PRAC commissioners put in. So I just want to thank you for your extra time and diligence to really steward this process and give it what it's worth, because people are showing up for it, and I think it's pretty amazing. So I'm proud to serve on this commission, and hope that my input will help you all move this forward. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a lot of effort made by our commissioners on every subcommittee that they sit on, not just the arts one, but every subcommittee. So I want to say thank you to all the commissioners for each subcommittee that they have sat on. Commissioner Dolan?
So I'll say this from the perspective of being both a commissioner on in this room and also a fortunate nonprofit within this area. Just as an observation, I think it's really easy and a really probably unwarranted assumption that this slicing of the group that we've set it to of emerging artists versus established artists. I mean, you know how thin the edge is for what they call established organizations in this city. Like, nobody is thriving. Everybody is on the edge and everybody is trying really hard. So I would say that on one side. And maybe, like, thinking that way, we can avoid some of the ad hominem attacks. But I would also say to the established groups, like, remember how difficult it is to get a toehold. Remember how desperate that funding is and the difference it can make. And maybe not dismiss that as just holding up a process. And I don't want to take a lame centrist view here, but I do think we're fighting against each other, and that does not seem very productive at the end. And there is time for this to improve. And I know patience is easy to ask for and very difficult to give when you feel like this is an existential question. But I really do think there's a lot more common ground here. And in fighting against each other, however warranted our positions might be, we're only holding it back from getting better. So that's my comment.
Commissioner Trelio.
Just to make it short and simple, just like to thank everybody for their input. Myself, like Commissioner Duran, this is my 4th meeting, so I definitely welcome all the input from everyone. You know, there's a lot to the process, and I hope that we can come to a resolution and figure this out. You know, it's hard to see us fighting amongst each other. We all want the same goal. So I'm sure we can eventually get to some sort of just decision, you know, make this fair and equitable for everybody and get the funding to everybody. Thank you.
You can let him go.
And online, we do have City Attorney Jans with his hand raised. City Attorney Jans, you can unmute yourself and address the commission.
Thank you, commissioners, and thank you, everyone from the public. I just want to say that from the city attorney's standpoint, we've heard all of the comments and understand what all folks have said this evening. And so we are going to do everything on our part to move the process along, at the same time ensure transparency. And so I just want to make sure that everyone understands that we've been paying attention and watching everything that's been going on, and we will do our best to serve all that are involved.
Thank you. I will move on now to the next item. Here, ID number 25-1280. Hearing to receive public input on allocations related to Measure P, updates to the Parks Master Plan and Cultural Arts Plan, and annual Parks Department budget and capital improvement plans. Will any member of the public like to make a comment regarding this item? You will have up to 2 minutes. See no one in chambers. Anyone online?
We have no hands online.
Okay, I will now close public comment. Does any member of the commission have any questions or comments regarding this item? Nope.
I just wanted, it's a point of order, just a clarification. So in the previous item, I had some questions on matters that I wanted to clarify. Will those be discussed when?
When I do the agenda setting and we put the recommendations back on the agenda, Dr. Chavez will be here, she'll be presenting, and then we'll be able to ask questions then. So I believe we do agenda setting meeting when? In a couple of weeks, next week? Because we want to get this passed as soon as possible. But we needed to work out some things because of the concerns of the community. So once that is done, we're going to put it back on the agenda, and then we'll be able to ask the questions of Dr. Chavez, and you'll be able to get your questions answered. But tonight is not the night for that.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Angela.
No, you're correct.
Okay. Commissioner Dolan.
At our last meeting, I think Director Aguirre shared with us those recommendations that we had put forward that had been accepted by council and those that had been overruled or not accepted.
Accepted, yes.
And we had asked at that time, or at least I had asked, and I think others agreed, that we wanted to find out what percentage of our recommendations had been accepted, at least as a percentage or a dollar figure either way. And I thought we were going to hear that this week, but do you...
No, we won't be able to hear that until next meeting. As you see, we have Shelby sitting in for...
Okay. So Shelby, you're not going to carry the weight for Aaron?
You know
on
what?
this?
I actually have my notes from last week, and he said that we'd provide that in a tray memo.
Ah, okay.
So we'll get that information. I'll follow up on it.
Great. Thank you.
Any other input on this? All right. It is 8:04. I thought we were going to be here a little longer, but it is 8:04. As always, I would like to adjourn the meeting in the memory of Dr. Francine Apuda, and thank you all for coming out. Enjoy the rest of your night.